The year was 2087. Humans had spread beyond Earth. They built cities on Mars and had outposts on many moons and asteroids. Earth still had countries, but they worked together more now that humans lived on other worlds. Admiral Ethan Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, the largest ship in Earth's small space fleet. He was tall with gray hair at his temples. His blue uniform showed many medals from his years of service. The ship orbited Earth, keeping watch over humanity's home. "Admiral, we're picking up a signal," said Officer Ryan Kelly. His fingers moved quickly over the screen. "It's not one of ours. The pattern is. I've never seen anything like it." Carter walked to Ryan's station. "Put it on the main screen." The large screen at the front of the bridge flickered. At first, there was only static. Then an image appeared. What they saw made everyone on the bridge freeze. The creature on screen wasn't human. It had purple-gray skin with ridges where a human would have eyebrows. Its eyes were large and yellow with vertical pupils. When it spoke, its mouth moved in a strange way. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, "I am Supreme Commander Zorax of the Tauraxian Collective. We have studied your transmissions for decades. We know your languages, your cultures, and your weaknesses." Carter felt his heart racing, but kept his face calm. First contact with alien life, and it wasn't friendly. "The Tauraxian Collective claims this solar system and all its resources," Zorax continued. "Your species may continue to exist if you surrender immediately. Resistance will result in your extinction. You have 48 Earth hours to respond." The screen went black. "Get me the president," Carter ordered. Within an hour, President Olivia Martinez called an emergency meeting. Leaders from all Earth nations and colony representatives joined by video. Admiral Carter presented what they knew. "The signal came from beyond Neptune," he explained. "Their technology is far beyond ours, but they don't know everything about us." President Martinez looked tired but determined. She was in her second term, respected for her calm handling of the Mars water crisis years earlier. "What are our options, Admiral?" she asked. "They want our surrender in 48 hours. I suggest we use that time wisely," Carter replied. "We have military installations the public doesn't know about. Projects that were considered too aggressive in peacetime." General Paul Howard nodded. "Project Thunderbolt could be activated. The prototype ships of Europa could be ready in 36 hours. Are you suggesting we fight an advanced alien species?" asked the Chinese premier. "This is madness. They could wipe us out completely." Carter stood straighter. "With respect, they expect us to surrender. 17 other species have done so, according to the data packet they sent after their message. They've never faced resistance." The room grew quiet. "They've never met humans before," Carter continued. "They have no idea what we're capable of." President Martinez studied the faces on her screen. "I need your votes within the hour. Surrender or resistance." The vote was unanimous. For the first time in human history, every nation agreed. "Admiral Carter," Martinez said, "activate our defenses. I'll address the public while you prepare our response." Carter nodded and left to send coded messages to secret bases throughout the solar system. On Mars colony, Captain Samantha Wright received orders to prepare her ship, the UES Defiant, for a special mission. In underground labs on Earth, Dr. Alice Daniels analyzed the alien biology from the video. In a hidden facility on Europa, Chief Engineer Mason Reeves worked with a team to finish the prototype shields for Earth's new warships. Across the solar system, humanity prepared for war. They had been threatened before, by other humans, by nature, by disease. They had always survived. Carter looked out at Earth from his ship. Beautiful, blue, and worth fighting for. "You picked the wrong species to threaten," he whispered to the stars. Captain Samantha Wright stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant. Her ship was small but fast. The Defiant was built for speed and stealth, not battle. Her orders were clear: gather information about the aliens, not fight them. "All systems ready," "Captain," said Lieutenant Dan Harris. He was young but skilled. His fingers moved quickly over the control panel. "Take us out, Lieutenant," Wright said. "Keep us dark. No signals, minimum power." The Defiant slipped away from Mars orbit. They headed toward the outer solar system, where the alien signal had come from. Back on Earth, nations that once fought each other now worked together. The Terran Defense Alliance formed in a single day. Every country signed. They shared technology, soldiers, and resources. In a hidden base beneath the Pacific Ocean, Chief Engineer Mason Reeves worked without sleep. He studied the alien transmission data. "There's something here," he told his team. "Their shields operate on a frequency we can track. If we can track it, we can disrupt it." Reeves was brilliant, but usually worked alone. Now he led 50 engineers. They built prototype shields based on what they learned from the alien signal. Dr. Alice Daniels worked in another secret facility. As Earth's top xenobiologist, she analyzed the alien commander's appearance. "Their eyes suggest a homeworld with less light than Earth," she explained to military leaders. "The vertical pupils, skin texture. They likely evolved from something like our reptiles." She pointed to a digital model. "These breathing patterns suggest they may struggle in our oxygen levels. That could be a weakness." On Europa, Jupiter's icy moon, Lieutenant Commander Joseph Blackwell activated a base hidden under the ice. The facility contained hundreds of fighter ships and training simulators. "We need pilots," he told Admiral Carter by secure link. "Every person who's ever flown anything." "You'll get them," Carter promised. "We're sending transports with volunteers from Earth and Mars." President Martinez addressed the people of Earth. She did not hide the truth. "We face a threat unlike any in human history," she said. Her voice was firm. "But humanity will not surrender. We will not give up our home, our freedom, or our future." Millions volunteered to fight. Old enemies became allies. Russian ships joined American fleets. Chinese technology combined with European designs. African resources powered Indian factories. In orbit around Saturn, old mining stations transformed into shipyards. Engineer Frank Summers led teams that converted mining vessels into combat ships. They weren't pretty, but they could fight. "They won't win design contests," Summers told his workers. "But they'll keep you alive in a fight." On the Defiant, Captain Wright's crew made a discovery. They intercepted alien communications. "Sir," called Communications Officer Nicole Johnson, "I've decoded part of their transmissions. They've conquered 17 other species." Wright looked at the data. All 17 surrendered without a fight. The Exaraxians have never faced resistance. The information went to Earth immediately. It confirmed what Carter had guessed. The aliens expected an easy victory. Meanwhile, the moon bases activated. Thousands of combat drones, built in secret over decades, powered up. Earth had prepared for threats, even if they didn't know what form those threats would take. Admiral Carter inspected the first completed battleship of Project Thunderbolt. The UES Valiant was enormous, built inside an asteroid to hide it from Earth's own citizens. Now it would serve as humanity's shield. "Will it be enough?" asked General Howard as they walked through the massive ship. "By itself, no," Carter said honestly. "But we're not sending just one ship. We're sending everything we have. And something the Exaraxians have never faced before." "What's that?" Howard asked. Carter stopped at the bridge view screen, looking out at the stars. "Human stubbornness. We don't surrender. We never have." The clock was ticking. Less than 24 hours remained before the aliens expected Earth's surrender. But when the deadline came, the Exaraxians wouldn't receive a white flag. They would face warships. The 48-hour deadline passed. Earth sent no surrender message. 6 hours later, alien ships entered the solar system. 5 Exaraxian scout vessels moved toward Mars, their weapons ready. On Mars colony, alarms sounded. 30,000 colonists moved to underground shelters. Commander Peter Ellis of the Mars Defense Force activated the colony's shield system. It wasn't designed for war, but it might buy them time. All defense teams to positions, Ellis ordered. His voice was steady despite his fear. Civilian areas are priority protection zones. In space near Mars, Captain Wright and the UES Defiant waited with 3 escort ships. They hid behind Deimos, one of Mars' small moons. Enemy ships approaching visual range, reported Lieutenant Harris. 5 vessels, heavily armed. Wright took a deep breath. Remember the plan. We let them get close to Mars. When they focus on the colony, we hit them from behind. The crew waited in silence. On their screens, they watched the alien ships approach Mars. The lead Xeraxian vessel fired a warning shot at the colony shield. Now, Wright ordered. The Defiant and 3 escort ships broke cover. They accelerated toward the alien vessels. The Xeraxians didn't detect them until they were close. Fire all weapons, Wright commanded. Human ships attacked with everything they had. The first alien vessel was hit before it could raise shields. It exploded in a flash of blue light. The other Xeraxian ships turned to face the threat. Their weapons were stronger than Earth's ships. One escort vessel was cut in half by alien fire. Evasive pattern Delta, Wright called. The Defiant rolled sideways, barely avoiding a direct hit. On the Defiant's bridge, Communications Officer Nicole Johnson worked frantically at her station. "Captain, I've been studying their communications," she said. "Their targeting systems use predictable frequencies. I think I can jam them." "Do it," Wright ordered. Johnson sent a signal burst. 2 alien ships suddenly fired at empty space, missing the human vessels completely. "It worked," she exclaimed. "Press the advantage," Wright said. "All ships, concentrate fire on the lead vessel." The second escort ship was hit. Its engine core failed, and the crew abandoned ship in escape pods. But the remaining human vessels continued fighting. On Mars, Commander Ellis watched the battle from the control center. When he saw the Xeraxians were distracted, he launched the colony's defense missiles. "Let's show these aliens what Mars can do," he told his team. 20 missiles streaked toward the battle. The Xeraxians didn't expect an attack from the planet they thought was defenseless. 2 more alien ships were heavily damaged. The last one turned to retreat. "Don't let it escape," Wright ordered. "They can't report back to their fleet." The Defiant chased the final scout ship. Both vessels fired at each other. The Defiant took heavy damage, but Engineer Reeves' new shields held. The last Xeraxian scout exploded. No alien ships remained to report what happened. Wright looked at her bridge crew. Many were injured. One section of the ship was open to space, sealed off by emergency doors. "Damage report," she requested. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, Harris reported. "Engine power at 60%. Weapons at 40%. The third escort ship is destroyed. We have rescue teams collecting escape pods." Wright nodded. "Send a message to Admiral Carter. Tell him we engaged 5 Xeraxian scouts. All enemy vessels destroyed. 3 of 4 human ships lost." She paused, then added, "Also tell him we need reinforcements at Mars immediately. The main alien fleet will come soon, and they'll be angry." On Earth, Admiral Carter received Wright's message. He turned to President Martinez. "It's begun," he said. "Our first victory, but at a high cost." Martinez nodded. "Then we better make sure Captain Wright's sacrifice wasn't wasted. Launch the fleet." Across the solar system, hidden human warships powered up their engines. The real battle was about to begin. News of the battle at Mars spread quickly across Earth and its colonies. The victory was small but important. Humanity could fight back. For the first time since the alien message, people felt hope. Admiral Carter knew they needed more than hope. They needed weapons, ships, and soldiers. He ordered all hidden military projects activated. Every factory on Earth changed what it made. Car plants built tank parts. Foam makers created communication devices for soldiers. Food companies packed rations for troops. In orbit around Saturn, Frank Summers worked with his team nonstop. They converted 30 mining ships into battle vessels in just 3 days. They aren't pretty, he told his workers as they finished the last ship. But they have teeth now. The mining lasers, once used to cut asteroids, were now weapons. The thick hulls, designed for ice protection, could withstand some enemy fire. On the moon, bases hidden since the 2050s revealed their secrets. Colonel Laura Jenkins activated thousands of combat drones. Each was the size of a small car and armed with lasers and missiles. "We built these thinking we might fight each other," Jenkins said to her officers. "Now they'll protect all of us." In her lab on Earth, Dr. Catherine Wells made a breakthrough. She had studied the wreckage of an alien ship recovered from the Mars battle. "Their shields have a pattern," she explained to Admiral Carter during a video call. "Every 30 seconds, there's a tiny pause when they reset. Less than a second, but it's there." "Can we use that?" Carter asked. Wells nodded. "I've created a timing system for our weapons. If we fire at exactly the right moment, we can penetrate their shields." Carter immediately ordered the system installed on all human ships. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Lisa Rodriguez trained pilots in new flying patterns. She had watched recordings of the Mars battle and developed tactics specifically for fighting Zoraxian ships. "They expect us to run away or fly straight at them," she told her pilots. "We'll do neither. We'll use patterns they've never seen." Her pilots practiced in simulators until they could fly the complex maneuvers without thinking. The biggest surprise came from Admiral Carter himself. He took President Martinez to a secret location in the asteroid belt. There, hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid, were 3 massive ships. "Project Thunderbolt," Carter explained as they floated in a small observation room. Through the window, they could see enormous warships. "We've been building them for 15 years, disguised as mining operations." Martinez stared at the ships. "They're huge. The UEA's Valiant, Indomitable, and Sovereign," Carter said. "Earth's first true battleships, armed with the best weapons we have and powered by fusion reactors." "Why build these in secret?" Martinez asked. "Even from most of the government." Carter looked at her. "Because we knew someday we might face a threat too big for one nation to handle. These ships belong to all of Earth." Martinez nodded slowly. "How soon can they be ready?" "The Valiant is operational now. The other 2 need another week." "We might not have a week," Martinez said. "Our scouts report the main Zoraxian fleet is gathering beyond Neptune. Hundreds of ships." Carter wasn't surprised. "Then we fight with what we have. The Valiant, Summer's mining ships, the moon drones, and every other vessel we can launch." "Will it be enough?" Martinez asked. Carter didn't answer directly. "We have one advantage they don't expect. We're fighting for our survival. And humans become very dangerous when cornered." As they returned to their shuttle, Carter received a message. Captain Wright's repaired Defiant had detected large energy signatures entering the solar system. The Zoraxian main fleet had arrived. They were heading toward Earth. "It's time," Carter told the president. "Launch everything we have." Across the solar system, humanity's defense force moved into position. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. As the Zoraxian fleet approached Earth, something unexpected happened. Their lead ship sent a message requesting a meeting. "They want to talk," President Martinez asked, surprised. She sat in the emergency command center deep under the Rocky Mountains. Admiral Carter nodded. "They're requesting an in-person meeting with Earth's leaders. They say they'll send ambassadors to Geneva." "It's a trap," General Howard warned. "Maybe," Martinez said, "but we'll be ready either way. Tell them we accept." 3 days later, UN Secretary General William Davis prepared to host the alien ambassadors in Geneva. Security was extreme. Hidden weapons were placed throughout the building. Snipers watched from nearby rooftops. Davis was calm but alert. He had been a diplomat for 30 years before becoming Secretary General. This would be his most important meeting. The Zoraxian ship landed in a field outside the city. 3 alien figures emerged. They wore no spacesuits or protection. Earth's air didn't seem to bother them. Inside the UN building, the aliens sat across from human representatives. Supreme Commander Zorax led them. "Your resistance is surprising," Zorax said. His vertical pupils narrowed. "But ultimately pointless. We have conquered 17 worlds before yours. All now serve the collective." Secretary General Davis nodded politely. "We've reviewed your terms carefully, and we have prepared our response." "Good," Zorax said. "The terms of surrender are simple. All humans will remain on Earth. Your colonies will be ours. Your resources will serve the collective. Comply, and you will live." Davis pressed a button. Screens around the room activated, showing the meeting to people across Earth and its colonies. "The people of Earth should witness these negotiations," Davis explained to the surprised aliens. Ambassador Catherine Hayes stood up. She wore the blue uniform of the UN Diplomatic Corps. "Before we respond, we have questions," she said. "About the 17 species you mentioned." Zorax looked annoyed but nodded. Hayes displayed images on the main screen. "These are the Novan people from the Rigel system. You conquered them 11 Earth years ago, correct?" "Yes. They saw the wisdom of surrender," Zorax said. Hayes showed more images. "And these are Novan workers in your mining operations, working 20 hours per day, dying from radiation exposure." Zorax shifted uncomfortably. "Sacrifices for the collective are necessary." Hayes continued showing images from other conquered worlds. Each showed suffering, slavery, and death. "We've been communicating with these species," Hayes revealed. "Since your first message arrived, we've been sending signals, establishing contact. They've told us everything." The alien ambassadors looked at each other nervously. Secretary General Davis stood. "The 17 worlds you conquered surrendered without a fight. You expected the same from us." He walked closer to the aliens. "But humans have a long history of fighting against those who would enslave us. We have fought each other for freedom. We will certainly fight you." Zorax stood up angrily. "You have no chance of victory. Our fleet will destroy your world." "Perhaps," Davis said calmly. "But first, let me formally respond to your demand for surrender." The room was silent. Billions watched on screens across the solar system. "Humanity does not surrender," Davis said clearly. "This is our formal declaration of war." The aliens stormed out. As they reached their ship, they sent signals to their waiting fleet. In orbit, the first Zoraxian battleships appeared. They moved toward Earth, weapons charging. But humanity was ready. From behind Earth's moon, the UES Valiant emerged, nearly as large as the alien flagship. From Mars, Captain Wright led a fleet of smaller vessels. From the asteroid belt, mining ships converted to warships moved into position. And from bases on Pluto and throughout the Kuiper belt, hidden human installations activated, trapping the alien fleet from behind. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the Valiant. "All ships, this is Admiral Carter. You know what's at stake. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for every world these monsters have enslaved. Engage the enemy." Across the solar system, humanity's forces attacked. The greatest space battle in history had begun. The space around Earth lit up with weapon fire. Hundreds of Zoraxian ships faced humanity's hastily assembled fleet. The aliens had more ships and better technology, but humans had surprise and determination on their side. Admiral Carter directed the battle from the UES Valiant. The massive ship shook as it took hits from enemy weapons. "Shields holding at 70%, reported his weapons officer. "Enemy flagship is moving to position at 2 o'clock. Carter studied the tactical display. "Captain Wright, take your fast attack group and hit their right flank. Draw fire away from Earth's defense platforms." On the UES Defiant, now repaired and upgraded, Wright acknowledged the order. "Moving to engage, Admiral. All wings, follow my lead." The Defiant led 20 smaller ships in a rapid attack. They fired precisely at the 30-second shield gaps Dr. Wells had discovered. Several alien ships took critical damage. Across the solar system, the battle spread. Frank Summers commanded his converted mining ships near Saturn. They used the planet's rings for cover, emerging to fire and then hiding again. "These old buckets are tougher than they look," Summers told his crews. "Keep hitting and running. Don't let them target you directly." The Exoraxians hadn't expected resistance from the outer planets. Their attention was split between Earth and these surprise attacks. In another part of space, Colonel Jenkins directed the moon-based drone fleet. Thousands of small, fast drones swarmed the alien ships like angry bees. "Target their sensor arrays," Jenkins ordered. "Blind them first, then strike weapon systems." The drones were too small for alien targeting systems. They attached to enemy ships, cutting through hulls with lasers. On Earth, people watched the battle on screens. They saw their ships fighting bravely against overwhelming odds. Many ships were lost, their crews making the ultimate sacrifice. The tide began to turn against Earth. The alien numbers were too great. Human shields failed under continuous fire. The U.S. Valiant took heavy damage. "Admiral," called his communications officer. "We've lost contact with the Jupiter Defense Station. Mars reports enemy landing parties. Our forward line is collapsing." Carter remained calm. "It's time for the next phase. Signal Major Hoffman." Major Gregory Hoffman led a special unit of Space Marines. They'd waited in stealth shuttles near the battle. When Carter's signal came, they'd moved toward the Exoraxian flagship. "Remember your training," Hoffman told his team. "We board, we take control of their systems, we open their ship to the rest of their fleet." Using the chaos of battle as cover, the stealth shuttles attached to the alien flagship. The Marines cut through the hull and entered. The aliens fought hard, but weren't prepared for close combat. Humans had been fighting each other hand-to-hand for thousands of years. Hoffman's team reached the ship's main control room. Computer expert Sergeant Ben Phillips connected to their systems. "I'm in," Phillips said after tense minutes of work, downloading their fleet command codes now. Meanwhile, Captain Wright led the Defiant on a daring attack run. Her ship was badly damaged, systems failing. "One more pass," Wright told her crew. "Target their main weapons with everything we have left." The Defiant struck the alien flagship's weapons array. The explosion damaged both ships. The Defiant lost power and drifted in space. Back on the Valiant, Admiral Carter received a message from Hoffman. "Admiral, we have their command codes. Transmitting now." This was what they needed. With the codes, they could disrupt the alien fleet's coordination. Carter ordered the codes sent to all human ships. The effect was immediate. Alien vessels began firing on each other, confused by false commands. Their formation broke apart. "Push forward," Carter ordered his remaining ships. All vessels, full attack. The battle was still desperate. Many human ships were destroyed. But slowly, the Exoraxians began to retreat. Their perfect plan had fallen apart. After hours of fighting, the alien commander ordered a full withdrawal. The surviving Exoraxian ships jumped away from the solar system. Earth had won its first major victory, but the price was high. Thousands of human lives were lost. Many ships would never return home. Carter looked at the battle damage reports. "They'll be back," he said quietly. "And we'll be ready." 2 months passed after the Great Battle. Earth buried its dead and repaired its ships. Scientists studied captured alien technology. The Exoraxians had retreated, but everyone knew they would return with an even larger fleet. Admiral Carter met with Earth's leaders. His plan was bold. "We can't just defend," he told them. "We need to take the fight to them." President Martinez looked surprised. "How?" "We barely defeated their attack force." Carter displayed a star map. "During the battle, we captured their navigation data. We know where their conquered worlds are. We know where their supply bases are." He pointed to several locations, and most importantly, we know where the enslaved species are kept. "You want to free them. Martins realized. Yes, we'll use captured Soraxian ships, small strike teams. Hit and run. Free the slaves and turn them into allies. The plan was approved. Lieutenant Commander Joseph Blackwell was chosen to lead the first mission. His target, a mining world called Novan Prime, home to the first species the Exoraxians had conquered. Blackwell commanded a captured alien scout ship. His team included the best soldiers from Earth's special forces. They wore modified Soraxian armor. Remember, he told his team as they approached the planet, "We look like the enemy. We need to fool them long enough to find the slave camps." Their ship landed at a Soraxian outpost. Guards approached but didn't suspect anything wrong. The humans had studied Soraxian behavior carefully. Using stolen access codes, Blackwell's team entered the main control facility. They quickly subdued the guards and accessed the colony database. "Found it," said Sergeant Phillips, working at an alien computer. "Slave labor camp, 20 miles north. Approximately 5,000 Novans." The team moved quickly. They reached the camp and eliminated the guards. The aliens inside looked at the humans with fear, thinking they were more Exoraxians in different armor. Blackwell removed his helmet. The Novans gasped. They had never seen humans before. "We are from Earth," Blackwell said through a translator. "We've come to free you." One Novan stepped forward. He was old, his blue skin wrinkled. "Why would you risk yourselves for us?" "Because the Exoraxians are our enemies too," Blackwell replied. "And we believe no one should be enslaved." The Novans helped Blackwell's team disable the planet's communication systems. Then they attacked the main Soraxian base together. Human weapons combined with Novan knowledge of the facility made the assault successful. Within hours, the entire planet was free. The first liberated world. The Novan leader, who called himself Elder Call, met with Blackwell. "My people have been slaves for generations," Call said. "We had forgotten what freedom felt like." "Will you join us?" Blackwell asked. "Help us free the other worlds." Call nodded. "The Soraxians took our ships, our weapons, but we remember how to build them. Give us time, and we will fight beside you." Back on Earth, Dr. Alice Daniels worked with representatives from the Novans. She developed translation systems and learned about the other enslaved species. "Each species has different abilities," she explained to Admiral Carter. "The Novans are natural engineers. The Tellarians have incredible eyesight. The Vox can communicate telepathically over short distances. And all of them hate the Exoraxians," Carter said. "With good reason," Daniels replied. "Some have been slaves for centuries." Over the next months, more missions freed more worlds. Humanity's small fleet grew as liberated species joined them. Captain Wright discovered the location of the Taraxian homeworld in data from a captured command ship. A year after the first alien message, Earth had changed from a single planet defending itself to the leader of a coalition of free worlds. Ships from a dozen different species gathered in Earth orbit, preparing for the final battle. Admiral Carter addressed the combined fleet commanders. "A year ago, we stood alone. Today, we stand with friends from across the stars. Together, we will end the Soraxian threat forever." The fleet moved out, heading for Xorax Prime. The final battle for freedom was about to begin. The combined fleet approached Xorax Prime. Over 300 ships from 18 different species moved in formation. The UES Sovereign, Earth's newest and largest warship, led the way with Admiral Carter in command. Intelligence reports showed that Xoraxians had recalled all their forces to defend their homeworld. They had over 500 ships arranged in defensive rings around the planet. In the Sovereign's command center, Carter met with the leaders of the coalition forces. Elder Call represented the Novans. Captain Wright, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, stood at Carter's side. "The Xoraxians expect us to attack head-on," Carter said. "So we won't. We'll use what worked before: surprise and deception." The plan was complex but clear. Wright would lead a stealth mission to disable the planetary defense grid. Major Hoffman would command ground forces once they could land. The main fleet would engage the Soraxian ships, but not directly at first. As the fleet approached Soraxian space, they split into smaller groups. Wright took the UES Defiant and 5 other stealth ships toward the dark side of Sorax Prime. "Stay in the planet's shadow," she told her pilots. "Their sensors can't detect us if we keep the planet between us and their main fleet." The stealth ships reached the planet undetected. They landed near the main defense control station. Wright led her team inside, fighting through Soraxian guards. "We're in position," Wright reported to Carter. Beginning shutdown sequence. Across the planet, defensive weapons powered down. Shields flickered and failed. The Soraxians scrambled to understand what was happening. In space, Carter gave the signal. The Coalition fleet attacked from 3 directions simultaneously. Novan ships hit from above. Tellarian cruisers struck from the side. Earth's vessels, led by the Sovereign, charged the front line. The battle was fierce. Soraxian ships fought desperately to protect their homeworld. Many Coalition vessels were destroyed or damaged. But the aliens had never faced a united enemy before. They couldn't adapt quickly enough. On the planet, Major Hoffman led the ground assault. Human troops fought alongside soldiers from 7 other species. Each brought unique abilities to the fight. "Push toward the capital city," Hoffman ordered. "The Supreme Command Center is our primary target." The Soraxian leaders watched in shock as their defenses failed. Supreme Commander Zorax could not believe what was happening. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "They were primitives a year ago." His advisors had no answers. The species they had conquered and enslaved for centuries were now at their doorstep, demanding justice. In orbit, Admiral Carter's Sovereign engaged the Soraxian flagship. Both massive ships fired everything they had at each other. The Sovereign's shields held, strengthened by Novan technology. The Soraxian vessel began to break apart. "Their flagship is disabled," reported Carter's weapons officer. "Their fleet is in disarray." Carter nodded. All ships pressed the advantage. "Target their command vessels." On the ground, Hoffman's forces reached the capital. They fought their way to the Supreme Command Center. The Soraxian guards fought to the death, but couldn't stop the combined attack. Hoffman breached the final door. Inside, Zorax and the Soraxian High Command waited. "It's over," Hoffman told them. "Surrender now." After 18 hours of continuous battle, the Soraxian forces laid down their weapons. Their fleet surrendered to Admiral Carter. Supreme Commander Zorax was taken prisoner. 1 week later, Zorax was brought before President Martinez on Earth. Leaders from all 18 coalition species attended. "You demanded our surrender," Martinez told him. "Instead, we united the galaxy against you." Zorax looked defeated. "What happens to my people now?" "Unlike you, we don't enslave those we defeat," Martinez replied. "Your colonies will be freed, your empire dismantled, but your people will live in peace, under supervision, until they learn to coexist with other species." The war was over. Celebrations erupted across Earth and all liberated worlds. A new galactic order was beginning, with Earth at its center. Admiral Carter stood on the Sovereign's observation deck, looking at the blue planet below. "We came close to extinction," he said to Fleet Admiral Wright. "Instead, we found our place among the stars." "Not bad for primitives," Wright replied with a smile. Carter nodded. "They demanded our surrender. We answered with warships. And then we changed the galaxy forever."